Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is TV Show Thursday, and not only is it TV Show Thursday, but I'm wearing my throwback shirt, so it is Throwback Thursday. So today I wanted to review one of my favorite, no, scratch that, my favorite throwback Nickelodeon show, Rugrats. Rugrats was the best show that Nick ever came out with, and it's very original. Rugrats basically revolves around these four toddlers and the adventures they get into. The adventures kind of have to do with either them misinterpreting what the adults say, and or the adults get too distracted so the babies just go off and do whatever. There's a lot of characters to Rugrats, so I'm not going to review all of them, so I'm just going to focus on my two favorite characters, one of them being Angelica Pickles. Now, Angelica is the main antagonist on the show, and a lot of people say that she's a brat, and yes, she does have her bratty moments, but now looking back, I can definitely see why she is the way she is. She's an only child, and her parents, Charlotte and Drew, work full-time, and they sometimes don't pay enough attention to Angelica, so I think she acts out for attention, and I do believe she feels alone at times, because like I said, she's an only child, and even though she would never admit it, but the babies are her friends. And probably one of my favorite episodes of the whole series is called Angelica's Twin, and that has to do with what I was talking about before. They're in a toy store, and Angelica sees that Phil and Lil are siblings, and Tommy and Chucky are siblings, and not Tommy and Chucky, Tommy and Dill are siblings, and when they go to the store, their moms have to buy them two toys. So then Angelica comes up with the bright idea that she comes up with this fake sibling, and her Aunt Dee Dee obviously knows that that's Angelica, but in her mindset, she'll get two toys, and it's so funny because the babies are like, they like her sister better than Angelica. And also, what has to do with the whole Angelica being alone thing I was talking about is another episode called Sister Act, and that's one of the later seasons. And that has to do with Angelica seeing all the babies getting pictures taken with their siblings, and even Chucky has a new sibling now, Kimmy, and she's all alone, and it's actually kind of sad because she's an only child, so she actually uses her doll Cynthia as a sibling, to put in the sibling picture instead, and she actually goes and asks her dad, I want a baby sister and brother, and I want it now. So she tries out the babies, trying to figure out which one's the best brother or sister, and none of them seem right, and Angelica makes up this excuse that she has friends, and it was kind of sad to watch, because even Tommy figured out, like, I think that Angelica's sad, and it was kind of heartwarming to, for him to say that, you know, you're around us so much, we're kind of all like brothers and sisters, and it was nice to see that moment between them, because they really are like all like siblings, even though some of them are related, some of them aren't. Another thing about Angelica is that she always carries around her doll Cynthia, and there's been a few times where she's actually lost the doll, and she's completely heartbroken over it, because I mean, her parents shower her with toys, anything she wants, which I think they buy her a lot of toys to make up for the fact that they're not there all the time. But that's like her most prized possession, as you see in a lot of the episodes, and she doesn't let anybody play with it. Also, she does have a rivalry with Susie Carmichael, who I think can sometimes be a little bit stuck up and add fuel to the fire when it comes to Angelica. But you see all the time Angelica wants to be the best at everything, and she sees Susie as a threat, and the babies prefer her better than Angelica, so they gravitate more towards Susie, which makes Angelica jealous because then she's all alone again. So I think that's about it for Angelica. Now my other favorite character would have to be Kimmy, and a lot of people would argue that when they introduced Kimmy, that's when the show jumped the shark, and I disagree. That's when I started loving Rugrats again. Kimmy was first introduced in the Rugrats in Paris movie when they were in Reptar Land, and um, Chucky's dad ended up marrying Kimmy's mom, so that makes them step siblings, but they actually ended up adopting each other's kids, so that was nice. One of the things I love about Kimmy is just that she's always happy. I mean, no matter what she's doing or what's going on with the episode, she always has a smile on her face. Um, One of my favorite episodes of Kimmy is called Attention Please, and that has to do with them kind of adjusting to the new living situation, and they think that Kimmy is homesick for Paris, but it turns out she just wants to play and do her own thing, so they throw this party for Kimmy and give her a lot of toys, and Chucky then becomes jealous because Kimmy's getting all these toys and all he got was just a pair of socks. And in the end they learn that she's very well adjusted and just wants to do her own thing, like I said. Kimmy, unlike Chucky, she's more adventurous. She's probably the girl version of Tommy because Kimmy isn't afraid to do new things. I believe even one episode, Tommy let her choose what they're gonna do, like their new adventure-wise, and Chucky became a little bit jealous when Kimmy was coming up with all these great things, and Chucky's always, scared to do things. So I think Chucky and Kimmy really complement each other because Kimmy brings Chucky out of his shell a lot, and Chucky, he's kind of, you see him adjusting to his big brother role, and he's a great big brother to Kimmy. Another one of my favorite episodes with Kimmy is, I believe it's called Day Scare, and that has to do with Kimmy and Chucky going to daycare for the first time, and because their parents feel bad that they always dump the kids on Dee Dee, so they send Chucky and Kimmy to daycare, and Chucky's of course scared, and he has his little Wah-Wah bear with him, and Kimmy's just running around and everything, and Chucky misinterprets. He thinks this room's called the Scream Room, but what they don't know is that it's actually the ice cream room. So after all of that, they end up getting ice cream at the end. So they learn that daycare wasn't so bad after all. Rugrats definitely was one of a kind. I don't think there'll be any others like it again. Rugrats did have 3 movies. It had Rugrats the movie, which introduced Dill. They had Rugrats in Paris, which I mentioned, that introduced Kimmy. And they also have Rugrats Go Wild, which is a cross between the Wild Thornberrys and Rugrats. And I don't believe I've seen that the whole way through, so I'll have to watch that. But Rugrats also had its own follow-up series called All Grown Up, which I thought, for a sequel, usually it's not as great as the original, but I thought All Grown Up was great. It was, again, a very original idea. It had to deal with the babies 10 years later and how they're dealing with stuff now. You see them dating for the first time, you see them, their first kiss, and them in junior high, I believe. So that was great to see that. I believe if you want to catch Rugrats, I believe it's on The Splat. I believe that's on after Hey Arnold. And I also, if you have on demand, it's under the Nick Rewind section. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Rugrats review. If you guys want me to review any other characters from Rugrats, I'll be more than happy to. Like, subscribe, and remember, stay regal.